Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited about today's episode. Obviously, I have another interview for you guys, which I've been getting such incredible feedback from all of you and how much you love hearing everyone's story. Obviously, success is not a straight line. Obviously, there's ups and downs, there's twists and turns, and some of the recent reviews have obviously said that they really appreciate always the vulnerability and the transparency that the person I'm interviewing shares, which obviously now approaching 530 episodes and nearly 5 years of podcasts. It's just a very gratifying position to be in. And obviously the guest I have for all of you today is no different. She's going to be vulnerable. She's going to be open. And what's very, obviously fitting for this interview is that she is a success coach for, driven entrepreneurs that really want more out of life, business, and everything else. So Nathalie Pincham, welcome to today's episode.
Oh, thank you, Scott. I am so happy to be here, and thanks for the warm welcome. And also congratulations on almost 5 years and just the amazing success that you've had with your podcast.
Thank you. It's one of those things where you start something, but you really don't know where it's going to go. And it was kind of like my wife's idea for me to get myself out there in that way. And, here we are 5 years later, over 600,000, almost 700,000 listens at this point. So, we should, gratefully, I'm hoping that 2024 is the year that we hit 1 million listens on the podcast, which I think is going to be possible. It's just we got to just keep pushing forward. But I appreciate the kind words very, very much. So before we talk into everything that you're doing now, with the coaching, the consulting that you're doing, if we were to rewind the tape and stop at a particular moment in your journey that you feel was kind of like that catalytic moment for you that kind of set the scene or pushed you in the direction that you're now currently on, what would you say that moment was for you?
Oh, I love this question. It's so good because these like difficult, sticky moments, that's where we tap into our magic, and that's and yet when we're in them, it feels anything but magic, right? So for me, I was growing a business. I had an agency helping my clients build out their marketing materials, their brand story, their brand vision. And I was just getting to this point where I realized that I was really good at what I did. I had a great team behind me. I had a great product, and I was not enjoying the work at all. And I was becoming, more and more of a manager in my business, and less of the passionate visionary coach that is really the heart and the excitement in what I do. And what I was also noticing was that in my clients, when you have, you might be so good at what you do, like just excellent at what you do. And you've got all the strategies in play, you're going for it. And yet there is something missing, and I was seeing that in my clients, and I was seeing it in myself. Something it wasn't feeling like success. Right. And I got to this point where I was just like, I cannot keep going. Like it got really bad. I had all these things come up in my personal life that needed to be addressed. Deep inner blocks, deep inner stories that were holding me back. And that's where I was just like, okay, I got to just go deep. I got to go deep, and I got to figure out what it is that is not right. And that just set me off on a whole journey that's just been incredible. And as a result, has allowed me to create my program, which is really based on that, on really helping to find the stories that are holding you back and address them.
I think the important thing is something that you talked about in that share, which is kind of listening to oneself. Because I think what a lot of people end up doing, I don't want to say a lot of people, but some people, you push down maybe some of those feelings, those emotions, and you don't face them head on.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you stuff them, and then they turn into something else later on down the road. But I think the other thing that is really important to acknowledge is understanding that your story can be changed at any point. And what a lot of people end up doing is they allow their story to define who they are. So whether it's something that happened to them as a child or a teenager or a young adult or whatever it is, sometimes we adopt what has happened to us and we see it as our truth. Like this is me, this is what's happened. And obviously that's not going to do you good. It's not going to do your life good. It's not any of those things. So what would you say as far as that whole that journey of listening to yourself and understanding that obviously you were meant for more, when you finally like quieted the noise and you listened to everything, what was the biggest lesson that you learned about yourself from a personal standpoint that you've kind of taken with you, not only into what you do for your business, but obviously what you do now to help others?
I think that the deepest lesson, well, there were so many, right? But the deepest one was really about really embracing the idea that each of us really does have a very important contribution to make. And that when we are super busy and we're just doing the things maybe that we're really great at, but maybe aren't tapping into that zone of excitement and just higher energy, that we can end up kind of feeling like that internal sense of success is just forever out of reach, right? So it was acknowledging my strengths and actually saying, no, there is something more here, and I'm allowed to want more. I'm allowed to want what I want, and I'm allowed to go for it. And I think that I just hadn't been doing that. I thought I was, right? I was a high achiever. I was doing all the things, and I was doing things that were bigger than I had ever thought of. And yet I was still holding myself back because, like you said, I had these stories in my head that, that maybe my voice was not that important, that I wasn't contributing anything of, deep and important value, and that I didn't know what I had to share. And so, yeah, going in and really feeling your feelings, that was one of the things that I had to do first, was to really allow myself to feel. Because when we are high achievers and we are very driven, we just get things done. And oftentimes that means that we just say, right, I'm not going to feel that right now because I've got this list of things to do right now, right? And so it's just saying, okay, I can take a breath and say, what is actually coming up and what's the story behind that, instead of just pushing it aside, just saying, okay, and is this story true? Is it serving me? And can I actually do something different? And the answer is yes, you can.
I think what ends up frustrating me the most is, as a coach, as a consultant, that sees the best in people, sees the potential in what they can become, sees the impact that they can have. We see it, but what the other person sees is completely different. Meaning,
Mhm.
You know, who am I to influence others? Who am I to create this epic life? Who am I to deserve all of this? And, you know, my wife and I talk about this all the time, that we're on this earth for such a short time. I mean, you
Mm.
know, we talk about it all the time, right? How fast does time go? What do we say, right? What do we say multiple times throughout the year, right? We're like, oh my God, it's already summer. Oh my God, it's already fall. Oh my God, the holidays are here. Oh my
Yeah,
God, it's New Year's again.
everyone is saying that all the time. Yeah.
We say it every year,
Yeah.
like suddenly
Like
time's
it's a
going to slow
surprise.
down.
Yeah.
So you know, the way that my wife and I always look at things is, what can we do to squeeze the most juice out of every single day, week, month, year that we can, so we're always progressing forward. But yet, you know, I'm sure you've experienced this, that you've worked with people, and 3 months goes by, 6 months goes by, a year goes by, and they're still sitting in the parking lot, you know, debating whether they want to put the car into drive or not. Why do you find it, and I don't want to say this is everybody, but there's a lot of people out there that are just still getting in their own way, right? They're getting
Mhm.
ready to get ready. With
Yeah.
everything that you do as a success coach, what have you found as the top contributing factor to why people are still sitting in that parking lot instead of going down the road that they need to go down?
Great question. I love it. And I agree with you. There's, you know, that point where you decide that how your life is going to go is actually up to you. That really shifts a lot of the energy, right? When you start to say, no, it really is up to me to put my foot on the gas right now, you know, and I can do that. And I don't have to be alternating with, you know, slamming down the brake at the same time, which is what so many of us are doing. Like we're working really, really hard. And at the same time, we're holding ourselves back, this pattern that you're describing. And it's really, and that's what makes you feel like your bigger, more exciting dreams are always out of reach. And, you know, just feeling like you're putting the same goals on your list every year. It's like, oh, okay, another year's gone by and I still didn't do the big launch. I still didn't do the thing, you know, and that's just so hard. It's such a tough cycle to be in. And you know, the real block again comes down to the story that you're telling yourself. It's about you know, addressing what is it that's so hard, that's so frightening, that even though there's this very, very strong part of you that wants something, there's another part of you that is just saying, this is just so hard and so scary, and I cannot allow this change to happen. And the thing is, it's our brains are wired this way, right? This is actually a survival mechanism that we're built with, right? We need that. It's what's allowed us to evolve as a human race as far as we've gone. But yet, you know, whenever we set those big exciting goals, there's always going to be these elements of your brain wiring that are going to literally sabotage you and hold you back. And so when you can actually learn what those are, and then have the tools to work through that, everything changes. It's like, oh, it's okay, I can actually go, I can go for it, and I can just stop putting my foot on the gas. And I'm really, you know, it's really reconditioning the habits and the patterns of behavior that are just automatic and we don't even know. So that's why working with the coach is so helpful. It's just bringing the awareness to that.
Yeah, I think that, you know, working with someone, and this is the thing,
Yeah.
practicing what you preach, right? Everything that my wife and I teach in our mastermind and our courses and our programs, it's all things that we have and continue to do. We
Yes,
don't teach,
same. Yeah.
we don't teach what we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, when you're working with a success coach, they should be successful, which you are, because there's a lot of people that position themselves as a success coach when they really, and you know, it's the whole fake it till you make it, or maybe they get a certification and that they're success means something different to each person. But what I have found is that every single person has the opportunity, but also the capability to achieve anything that they want. It's just a matter of willingness to do the necessary things, to get uncomfortable, to push yourself, to achieve those things. And, I believe in something called the 51-49 rule. That the person that you work with has to want it 51% for themselves, and you
Yeah.
have to want it 49% for them. And if those numbers are skewed and reversed, and you want it more for the client and the client wants it for
Yeah.
them, it's never going to work.
It's never going to work. No. Yeah. And that's actually such a good point, because some people do hire a coach thinking, well, they're going to bust me out of this. If they want it more than I do, they're going to, that never works. You have to want it so much. You have to want the change. Otherwise you can't.
You hear the term playing it safe all the time, right? Les Brown talks about that some of the greatest songs ever written, some of the greatest books ever written, were never produced, never published, and they are buried in the graveyards around the world because that person was afraid or fearful of putting themselves out there, stepping out of their comfort zone. Why do you feel, even in today's age, where it's never been easier, and this I say this with all confidence, but also in very humbled, it's never been easier to grow a business with all of the resources that are out there, whether it be a coach or a consultant, whether it be a company, whether it be podcasts and books and courses? Why do you feel people are still playing small and playing safe?
I think that you're right. This is an incredible moment in history that we've got unparalleled opportunities for people who do have a vision to create a business online around that, for getting their message out and for sharing the vision. And it's incredibly inspiring and exciting because we see people out there doing it, right? And that's amazing. And you say, well, so I think that we're at a time where we see the possibilities, we see the expansion, continual expansion of the landscape, which is so amazing. But again, it comes back to the bigger the desire, the more you have to reach beyond what you've done before. And for so many people, launching a podcast. I mean, I know when I launched mine, I was terrified. It was such a big leap. I literally felt like I was jumping off a cliff when I launched my first episode. And you have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to be terrified a little bit and just, and see what happens. And so many people can see the vision and get excited about it. But it's, if you're worrying whether you're going to be good enough, if you're comparing yourself to everyone else and going, well, I can never be that good, then you're just going to feel awful. And that is always going to stop you, because your brain is going to say, well, you don't want to feel awful. Let's go back to feeling comfortable and safe. Let's go watch some Netflix, So that's where, and again, being surrounded by people like in your community, on your podcast, listening to podcasts where people are doing the thing that you want to do, that is so important. Because you get that reinforced, that message of it is possible, I can do it, and you can start to wire the brain in a different way, just to say, taking a risk is not going to kill me. I can take a risk, learn something from it, and grow, and then it doesn't hold you back when you can start to really live that. Breathe it and know it.
No risk, no reward. And that's something that I truly live by. So obviously you and I both have the same mindset where people feel that the coaching and consulting world is saturated. I do not believe that it's saturated, but I do feel that there's a clear division of great coaches to not so great coaches. And obviously that's just with any industry. If someone was to ask Nathalie what really defined her, and the big differentiating factor between her as a success coach compared to others, what would you say makes you more unique than other people in the space that you're in?
I think that the gift that I bring is really a deep understanding of narrative theory, of psychology around how the brain is wired, and really showing people in very simple ways, like simplifying everything down into very manageable steps in terms of the stories that we tell ourselves and how to change those, and learn how to tell the story of our business in a way that's empowering rather than disempowering. You know, I bring all of that into reach, make it very manageable, and I simplify things in a way that's that makes everything feel manageable. And oftentimes when we're trying to grow, things can feel like they're so unmanageable, right? So out of control. But there's also, you know, I'm incredibly curious, and I read all the time, I'm learning all the time. So everything I do is backed by research, by my, not just my qualifications, but also like everything that I'm learning and reading, and you know, that deep understanding of how this works, you know. And so I think that that's key. And then the next level of that is really having you know, a real sense of purpose, and a lot of the work that I do in my clients is reconnecting to your values, really finding what really matters. Because when you do that, then whatever you do is going to be meaningful. The success that you create will be meaningful. It will have all the meaning that you need it to have.
Love that. So obviously I have one other big question to ask before we end today's incredible interview. But before we get to that question, so if people are interested in your work, what you do, how you serve and help people, and some of the offerings, programs, and coaching that you have, what's the best way for the audience to get in touch with you?
The best way to reach me is on my website, which is storytonic.co. I also have a podcast called Your Success Tonic, and I offer regular masterclasses, which is a great opportunity just to come and ask me questions and learn from me and get to know my approach a little bit deeper.
Wonderful. So all the information that Nathalie just mentioned obviously will be in the description of this episode, so you guys are not going to have to look too far. So Nathalie, final question before we end today's interview. What does success truly mean to you?
Oh, yes, I love this, because I ask all my interviewees this question as well. And I adore just the breadth and range of what everyone comes up with, because it truly is so personal. The answer to that is so personal. And for me, success is about freedom, feeling that I have the freedom to go for what I really want, and to feel that I can go for what I really want. And for me, that's, you know, building community, building deep and meaningful connections with my clients, of course, with my family and friends, and having the time to really be there with them, as opposed to how I was living my life before, which was just working all the time, always being, you know, always having the giant to-do list and spinning and working so hard. And for me, that became so clear that that was not success. It wasn't meaningful, and it wasn't helping anyone, especially not me. So yeah, for me, it's being grounded in meaning and having the freedom to pursue it.
Yep. Freedom is a very powerful thing, whether it's, business freedom, personal freedom, time freedom, monetary freedom. There is so many things tied to that. And I could not agree more. And Nathalie, I just want to thank you again for taking the time out to be here with myself and my audience today. Loved everything that you shared and the amazing information that you poured into them, and just very grateful for you and the time that we had today.
Oh, thank you, Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And also, as a reminder, any information that Nathalie did mention in the episode will be found in the description of this episode, and also the email that goes out to everyone, so you can find it all there. And also a reminder, please do, if you love the podcast, don't forget to hop on to Spotify or iTunes, subscribe, leave us a rating and review. That helps us keep going with everything that we're doing. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you everyone for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.